that should be so easy to defeat? Why? Why is this why do good people just lay down so every form of trash can run over them? Let's go to David Ogden. Let's go to the next piece of trash.
DOJ's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is increasing its efforts by adding 37 new employees in 3 new offices using $10 million in Recovery Act funds and redeploying 100 personnel to the southwest border in the next 45 days to fortify its Project Gunrunner, which is aimed at disrupting arms trafficking between the United States and Mexico. ATF is doubling its presence in Mexico itself, from 5 to 9 personnel working with the Mexicans specifically to facilitate gun tracing activity which targets the illegal weapons and their sources in the United States.
But our department has a very broad mission, and we have to be able to multitask. And as we multitask,
pause. Just to be clear, we got a whole bunch of clips. We're running out of time. It's all in Paul Watson's article, Napolitano knew about Fast and Furious in '09, if you want to watch the clips for yourself in their entirety. Not just the snippets we're playing on the news, but she's there being grilled saying she knew nothing. Now you see her at the press conference where this is all being admitted. But, I mean, we already have 8 agencies now, it turns out, involved in this. They're shipping drugs all over the U.S. They're shipping guns all over the U.S., not just Mexico. The government runs this. It's a $500 billion industry. You got to know this chipmunk and the other ones are running it. Of course, it's $500 billion. You think that's being hidden in some crack house down the road? They allow the zombie crack houses to operate. They allow them to go to the schoolyards, try to sell the stuff to your kids. They make it illegal so they get a higher price. And so your kids become zombies that rob houses to pay money to the chipmunks' bosses. Let's go back to the clip.
The things that has happened, one of the changes in the threat environment has been what is going on in Mexico.
How successful do you expect to be in this effort to clamp down on the trafficking of power going into Mexico?
Several things. One is, first of all, you've got to interdict the arms. You've got to stop them from going into Mexico. We're coordinating with Mexico because they can do more by way of southbound screening on their side of the border. But then the Department of Justice moving their agents down there, as David said, and increasing tracing. That will help us identify who is putting those arms into the arms, those guns into the arms of the traffickers moving south. And out of that, there can reasonably be seen more prosecution of actual arms dealers who are intentionally and knowingly putting arms into the hands of the smugglers. So that is part.
There she is saying we're taking the guns in, we're tracing it, we got agents there. 2.5 years ago, March 24, 2009, at the press conference with the other slime bags. Yeah, we're going to go to break and come back. Come back with the rest of it. Stay with us.
Ron Paul, a visionary who predicted the financial crisis, a leader with a plan to solve it. The Paul plan? Balance the budget. Cut $1 trillion year one. Eliminate 5 federal bureaucracies. End the foreign wars and nation building. Rein in the Federal Reserve. Pay down the debt. Cut taxes to create jobs. Ron Paul, a plan to restore America now.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars T-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there, wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. Infowars.com. Our mission at Infowars.com is to audit the Fed, abolish the Fed, restore the Constitution, abolish the TSA, restore the Second Amendment, restore the Constitution, restore the Republic. And if you believe in those goals, then it is your free will, responsibility, and honor to spread the word about our operation and to donate to the 2011 money bomb. For many years, I tried to basically stay small, make my films, do my radio show, but it grew and grew and grew. Think about how a money bomb that listeners started 4 years ago led to us being able to move into this bigger office. A later money bomb helped us expand into the empty warehouse next door. And in the last year, we have built the TV studios and put the equipment in and are now doing a nightly news show every night at 7 o'clock that we're now beta testing and getting ready for television. Right now going out to members at prisonplanet.tv and then reaching millions as it spills out onto YouTube and other systems. Help us go to the next level. Not reaching 15 million a week, but reaching 30, 40, 50 million a week. Our growth curve is exponential, but we need to hit our afterburners and turbocharge. History is happening now. The war for human liberty against total dehumanization is on now. Join us Thursday, November 3rd at Infowars.com. We're going to have a 24-hour plus live transmission with guests and interviews starting at 11 a.m. and running into my next radio show the next day. We're going to have a huge lineup of liberty-loving patriots from all over the world joining us. It's going to be amazing. And this money bomb is going to have a lot of new things added to it that's going to make it even more powerful than past years. So please donate at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com or Infowars.com/moneybomb, or simply spread the word about the money bomb. Stand with Infowars.com and my incredible crew and all of our other supporters and help us get the word out even more. The ball is in your court. The rest is up to you. It's Infowars Money Bomb 2011, November 3rd. It kicks off 11 a.m. Visit the website at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com, Infowars.com/moneybomb. And we are back. It's Infowars Nightly News. We're seeing Occupy Wall Street really starting to enter its second month or so. And now we're seeing the police shooting people in the face with rubber bullets for no reason in California. We're starting to see the Democrats demonize them. At first, they tried to co-opt it, but that failed. The public didn't buy that Obama is anti-Wall Street corruption, anti-banker corruption. The Federal Reserve got behind Occupy Wall Street, Bernanke, all of them came out and said, we agree with you. We should really raise taxes on everybody and pay it to private central banks like we're about to do in Europe. Austerity is the way. But more and more in the Fed information got out there, more and more the people began to wake up. So now I'm seeing a major shift towards demonization. From my research, at the very beginning, it was the Adbusters and other kind of mainline leftist connected groups that were involved at the genesis of calling for Occupy Wall Street. Just a vagary to kind of get the biggest crowd they could out there. Then people showed up, a lot of them who were informed, some who weren't, a lot of students that couldn't get jobs with their degrees because of deindustrialization and globalism and too much taxation. And they were told the answer is raise the taxes. The answer is austerity. The answer is, New World Order. But that hasn't seemed to sell so well. And in the last month, we've seen the unions sent down and MoveOn.org all over the country. We've gotten video of it here in Austin. They come up to our reporters, other reporters, or people with Ron Paul signs or Ron Paul shirts and say that isn't welcome here. But everything else is. They claim they're not political until it's establishment leftist stuff. In fact, I've seen reports they don't want anti-war there. Now, it's not fair, again, to just say this is all a government operation. The government, through its minions, puts the call out because they want to blame general capitalism or free market Wall Street for what they've engineered instead of the Federal Reserve. And I, of course, have had the call to go after the Federal Reserve itself because that's where the 6 megabanks get their political power and are posing as a federal agency and keeping their books secret. And then we can move on from there with Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, and others who really are the heads of the New World Order, the authors of this panopticonic control freak nightmare system. They're the folks that lobby for the wars, the cashless society, the control grid. This is the enemy of humanity. But you don't defeat them by raising taxes, which they're lobbying for, because you're never going to get those goodies, even if you are for wealth redistribution. The only chicken feed you're going to get is to make you dependent. Now, Dan Dix is just an amazing filmmaker. By the way, we carry both of his films at Infowars.com and the online video bookstore. United We Fall, 3 nations, 2 sides, 1 union, North American Union, still moving forward. I want to briefly talk to him about that tonight. And his latest film, Into the Fire, which looks at globalist meeting in Toronto, Canada. Well, Dan, it's great to have you here with us. You've been there. You heard my little breakdown. A, do you agree with it? And B, what can you add to it?
Yeah, I totally agree. In my experience here in Toronto, as you said, I was interviewing a lot of the protesters down here at Occupy Toronto, and in the beginning, I was coming across a lot of these kind of socialist, anti-capitalist type protesters. And they were certainly beginning to have a loud voice in the beginning of this thing. But the more and more I speak to people down there, the more and more I'm starting to find that there are a lot of Canadians down here who are fully aware of the problem with private banks issuing currency out of thin air and charging interest on it. People around here know that what we need to change is this whole system of fractional reserve lending. And people are starting to catch on to the fact that our Bank of Canada can actually print its own money interest-free. However, we haven't been doing that since 1974. We've been borrowing from private banks at interest. So I'm starting to see some hope for the movement here a little bit, because people are starting to become more aware of some of the real issues and some of the real problems that we ought to be focusing on. And I think it's a beautiful thing to see these people coming together. You know, it's been going on for 12 days now, and 12 days ago, it started off with about 10 or 15 tents down in St. James Park, and that's quickly grown to about 200 now. And looks like they're in it for the long run. They're going to stick with it right through the winter. So it's exciting times. So I just want to continue to document this thing and make sure that it doesn't get steered into this direction, which, as you said, is going to just enslave us even further and not end up helping any of the people at all. So we certainly have to remain vigilant and cautious of that happening.
Well, again, I mean, it's somewhat complex, but also simple once you get it. The establishment knows there's going to be a revolution against their corruption. They go ahead and just put out a nebulous, hey, let's occupy Wall Street. A lot of diverse groups show up. The system tries to fully co-opt it with its message of more taxes that get siphoned off in banker bailouts, like the $1 trillion one we saw passed in Europe. I mean, Greece's debt supposedly $100 billion. So what's the trillion for? I mean, it's all just this backdrop that the Irish owe it, or the Americans owe it, or the Canadians owe it, or the Greeks, or the Icelanders. Every time they dig in, they find out it's the banksters. It's their derivative black hole. It's like Bernie Madoff. They should go to jail instead of this. And people who want to know why they can't get a college job out of college, it's because globalism has deindustrialized. But the issue is, now that the system has not been able to fully co-opt it, we're seeing the mainstream media, left, right, center, shift to they're dirty, they're stealing, they're intense, rats, garbage. If somebody gets an iPod stolen at an event or complains about it, it's big national news to imply it's criminals that want to protest Wall Street. So now that really signifies for me the system tried to co-opt it. Like the Pied Piper, they called the people, but but then were unable to control them after that. So now they're shifting to a demonization, rubber bullet in the face mode. One guy, veterans in critical condition right now, still from it, shot them with a rubber bullet at close range. So where do you see the crackdown going around the world if they can't co-opt it?
Well, I've certainly been seeing the crackdown happening online with the police cracking down on these various protests all over the states. But it's a little bit different here in Toronto. Something that is very interesting that is going on here is that the police are pretty much staying completely out of it. They're staying out of the way. They're basically allowing the protesters to march wherever they want and occupy whatever intersections they want. And I think the reason for that is because the police here in Toronto have a little bit of a PR problem. They're already trying to restore the public's faith in them because of the atrocities, because of the brutal things that took place